We will call to order the Zero Waste Subcommittee meeting on August 17th at 2 p.m. First item is a roll call. We have everyone here except for Commissioner Ariola. Next item is adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion? Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Sacco, second by Commissioner Ward to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 3-0 with Ariola absent. Next item is approval of the minutes. Is there any? Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Sacco and a second by Commissioner Ward for approval of the minutes. Kristen, do you want to open it up for, we can open up for public comment, and you want to read out the number?
Yes. For those watching at home and who want to participate in the meeting, please dial 312-626-6799. Again, that phone number is 312-626-6799, and you'll need to enter the meeting ID 895-8262-3536. Again, the meeting ID is 895-8262-3536. Currently, if there are any community members in the meeting want to make comment, you can use the raise your hand feature in Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. I do not see any hands raised.
All right, we'll open up to any members of the public in chambers who'd like to discuss this item. Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Our motion passes 3-0, Commissioner Ariola absent. Next item is discussion of reuse community options. This is bringing back the item we've discussed in the past, and then at our last subcommittee meeting, we were discussing the draft ordinance. The committee wanted to discuss this further and kind of go deeper into it. We've also invited some members of the community too. On this, I don't know if staff has any new stuff. I was going to kind of maybe open it up to the public to see if any public has any kind of thoughts in the beginning, and then maybe the committee can discuss. I don't know if any members of the public have any thoughts on what we can do on reuse. One of the items, a few of the items that were discussed were putting in some minimums that apartment complexes had to do during move-in and move-out periods, where certain size apartment complexes who have so many people moving out in a certain period of time have to create a plan to deal with the large influx of that's mainly furniture and other things like that, and even clothes and other things like that from people moving out, and then also have to have a plan and also execute that plan and be able to get those items to hopefully someone who could reuse them. Another couple things were discussed was a program that we would kind of start to, in essence, kind of educate the community more on reuse as well, and partner with entities. And another item too discussed was having a day of the week, or not day of the week, a day, one day a year or something like that, or I don't know, just a day's maybe once a month, once a year, whatever it might be, to in essence kind of have a swap meet where people will put out their stuff they don't want. Everyone knows that that's the day that they can go out and pick stuff off the curbs. And then if stuff is not picked up, then solid waste would pick that up and take it to the dump. So I don't know if any members of the public want to discuss reuse options, ideas that you all have. Oh, yeah.
Hi, Amanda Waddell, the Repurpose Project. So we would really like to do a pilot program for move out for off-campus housing. So we've thought of a couple ways that we could do that, partnering with the city and the haulers, and but we definitely had more questions than answers, but we're very interested in a pilot program for 2022.
Okay. So maybe we could, so one of the things in the ordinance, I think maybe having a, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you still going? Or? Okay. Is saying that we have to have a pilot program implemented by a certain date, and then we have to have it kind of a phased-in approach over a few years. It has to be for all apartment complexes. There's time for us to learn what works and doesn't work. But at least we get something in the ordinance so that it, so we don't have to come back later to put it in. Is there any other members of the public who want to discuss reuse? Anybody online?
Any community members who are in the meeting, feel free to use the raise your hand feature to let me know that you'd like to speak to this item, or dial *9 on your telephone. I'll give you permission to, I'll unmute you. Should I give the numbers again, or you think?
Sure, one more time.
Okay. The numbers to dial in, the phone number is 312-626-6799, and the meeting ID is 895-8262-3536. I don't see any hands currently.
All right. Any discussion from the committee on this item and kind of path forwards on this? Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being here and continuing to be a part of this. I'm interested in not only an annual or biannual opportunity that is connected to UF and to Santa Fe, but just a regular, I don't know, the third Thursday of every month is swap meet day or something like that. And I know that's much easier said than done. But if we don't start the conversation, then we don't ever get there. So I think we're more likely to get good usage out of it as a community if it is a regular thing. If we try to promote it as, these 2 days a year it's going to happen, it's probably it'll be a little better than what it is right now, where people know that there's an opportunity out there, but it's not going to be a lot better than that. But if we can get people in the habit of using that day every month, I think it helps kickstart or adds another gear to the circular economy, and gets people used to that availability. So that's the direction I would like us to go down. And I'm not saying we should start that tomorrow. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not in a big rush, but I would like us to, as commissioners, as staff, as community members who work on this sort of thing, to try to figure out how that might work and how we could do it without disrupting other parts of what we do, but add to what we do and enhance things. That's where I am on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I guess on the apartment complexes, do you have any thoughts on that, of us putting any kind of things where larger complexes have to have minimums, and having maybe a rollout program? Or, cause I don't think we're going to do a pilot this past year, but they had to delay it because of COVID. But having something that by year 2025, all larger complexes have to have it, but we're starting kind of as a rolling thing of certain sizes. Because I do think that is where there's a huge amount of stuff just created in a very short period of time. So it is, and it's all good. It's good, probably way better stuff than any other time you get stuff.
So yes, I'm definitely interested in that. I don't have thoughts on how we make that move forward well. It's not what I do. So, but it is something that I want us to pursue. I wonder though, as more of the student population lives in taller and more difficult to move in and out of complexes and more furnished complexes, if we will see a reduction in the stuff that leaves those buildings every year. And I really don't know. I mean, I know that thinking forward a few years myself, I would prefer not to move a lot of stuff into an apartment for my kids and then try to figure out what to do with it, but am much more interested in looking for furnished apartments at that point. So I don't know how many people, as those opportunities are available, will think the way I'm thinking, and if we'll see a reduction from past years. So I don't know.
Commissioner Sacco.
Thank you. I'll work backwards from the apartment question. So I definitely think that it does create in a very short period, a bulk of trash for stuff that is very good. I do agree with the point that as more of the surrounding complexes become taller and furnished to a certain degree, that we may see a reduction in stuff. But as someone who only a year ago moved her baby sister into a furnished apartment, you're still going to accumulate a lot of junk. I don't know how she found the time to get so much junk, or where she's going to put it after. But so it's volume. If you have space, you'll be like, oh, I have room for this cute toaster that's a different color, or Mickey Mouse waffle irons, whatever it is. So I do think we should include in the ordinance with a certain future date. 25 is a good 4 years-ish, 3.5 years at this point. But I definitely think that we should start with larger complexes, which won't have, for the most part, the large furniture. So it'll let us figure out what smaller electronics, appliances, small household goods, as opposed to a smaller unfurnished unit, which will be like, cool, we have 12 apartments of furniture. I think it gives us a bigger pilot sample with a lot less volume to sort through, if that makes sense. So if we go through with a pilot, I'd rather start with, above. I don't even know how many units do some of these apartment buildings have? How many units do these larger student apartment buildings have?
The tall ones or the broad ones?
Tall ones, or like tall ones or large footprint ones.
The Tom Strickland Solid Waste Division. They vary in size greatly. You have somebody like the Nook or the Niche, which could have 900 units.
I'm sorry, 900?
They count each apartment within a as a unit. You have others that range 300, 400 units, maybe like Campus Club or ones like that. And then you have, most of them are probably in the range of 200 units or so. And it's all over the place. I mean, there is no set amount. I mean, I could take an average, but the average wouldn't really represent how many units they have. So they vary in size greatly.
So I was going to say anything over 100 units, and apparently that's a lot of them. So that's outside.
Anything
pilot
over 100
sample.
units would probably be 200 or so, maybe 150 at least, different properties.
So thousands of units.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think that's a pilot sample size, because
I'd
you
say
guys might quit.
Over 300, you're probably only looking at maybe 25 or 25
Which is
to 30.
still a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I don't know if it might be better to kind of have staff review what the pilot sample size should be based on size of complex, whether they're furnished or whatnot, but letting them who clearly have more knowledge on this than I do kind of figure out what the best sampling area would be, and try a smaller manageable sample for that first time to get the growing pains out. One thing I did want us to consider is on our use of surplus materials, and I think we talked about it before on what we can do to help repurpose and reuse businesses and organizations. And I think one of the things that's always been commented is the need for transportation. So I'm not sure how much in our surplus material we could, if our procurement or sale policies allow us to offer discounts to nonprofits so that they could have that opportunity to purchase at a much lower cost, or even if it's to rent out the equipment if they don't need it at all times, that opportunity to use some of that surplus equipment that's still perfectly operational, but they might not have storage for, or they might not be able to purchase outright at market price. So I think trying to figure out how to allow them access to those materials that really help in movement of larger items might be something I'd want to explore. Just in our policies, I don't think that would fall under ordinance. That might be more of a policy thing. Thank you.
And on the policy, I think letting staff pick and choose what the best pilot is, but I think and also we can have staff ask us to come back as part of the ordinance, a minimum of what size apartment would have to create a plan to. I think that's probably a good thing for staff. They could figure out this captures the bulk of them of ones who are, and is not overburdensome for smaller apartments that may not, they just don't produce as much either. So it sounds like, Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here I go being optimistic and thinking the best of folks. I wonder if there's an opportunity to reach out to the apartment community and see who would, if any of the larger complexes, and maybe some medium complexes, to get a variety of different sizes and different builds, so not only the tall ones, but also the broad ones, would be interested in voluntarily taking part in a pilot. Rather than a mandated pilot, I wonder if there's an opportunity for somebody to be a good partner, or for some small group to be a good partner with the city and with the community on this. And the answer is probably no. But I would like to see if there were some voluntary partners before we say, if you're this size or above, you have to participate in this pilot. And I'm not sure what the best way to go about that is. I do not want to overburden staff with a chaotic journey that is just doomed to failure. But if there's an opportunity to work with folks, I would prefer to do it as a voluntary pilot if staff feels comfortable with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and more thoughts on the pilot. I don't think we should mandate. I think we should mandate that we as a city do it. Like that we don't have to so we are saying by ordinance we have to have a pilot in place by a certain date. Gotcha. I think mandating pilots starts to, I don't know. I think it creates issues and people fight it. And I had some conversations with different apartment complexes. I think there are ones who are interested. It's an issue that they have, and they want to deal with it too. So it's not if they can have a cleaner kind of process, I think they'd be open to it. And I think some of them realize the amount of good stuff is go to waste, and not everyone who has all of them are evil and stuff like that too. So yeah. So but I think if we have by a certain date, ones of a certain size have to do it and have to have a plan to do it like that, but after we've done the pilot and kind of learned all of the things. And now, where are you, Commissioner Sacco, on the swap stuff that Commissioner Ward kind of talked about? Or
I'm totally comfortable with that. I would suggest something like once a month, which is fairly regular, but not, I'm going to put on a special hat I don't normally put on. I don't want to burden the character and look of neighborhoods by making it every 2 weeks, every week, because there will be torches and pitchforks, I feel, if that's a too regular occurrence. But I think something like once a month is regular enough for people to get in a habit of it, but not overburden the system we're trying to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So an important piece of that, and y'all know this, is that we need to plan for if it's not picked up, if I empty half my house onto the curb and it isn't picked up by, or even just one thing, and it isn't picked up by, dawn the next morning, we've got to get a truck around to get all that cleaned up. Otherwise, it will become a problem. It absolutely will. There are going to be things that I think, well, somebody's going to love this Mickey Mouse waffle iron, and nobody wants it because I'm the only sucker who bought the Mickey Mouse waffle iron. And it just sits on my curb. My neighbors are going to be very unhappy with that, and they should be. So we need a plan for that not lasting very long, because otherwise we'll have a very short pilot on this. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Smith with GFL Environmental. So we provide a lot of the services here in the city of Gainesville, and that you bring up the topic, I want to replace the iron with what's really curbside a lot lately, mattresses. Mattresses are the type of item that you see regardless of quality. It's something that people turn away from, especially during COVID right now. And as we've been doing the last couple of weeks of student turn with their roll-off boxes, and also some of the stuff that we see curbside. Mattresses, there's a lot of mattresses. And, you know, regardless, I think that we really have to identify what types of items that you want to include into this, because if it kind of is a very broad spectrum, you're going to get a lot of just different things where people are going to turn away from. And the problem with mattresses, they cause a couple of problems. One, airspace in containers, they take up more room, and they're less densified, right? So even if you try to compact them, they always expand back out. So just, I would feel opening up the ideas of a project like this to really kind of narrow down and identify some of the things we really want to focus on and find not just secondary use, but third use in the event that it can't be recycled or reused. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I know the county has talked about how their eco-industrial park of doing mattress recycling or other things like that. I think you mentioned electronics. I think that's a lot of, so many electronics now that just get thrown in the trash and then those all leach into the environment. So I think that's another opportunity to partner with the county on if we do these kind of, yeah, sure, if you want to. Well, actually, we got to clean it first. So, but that might be an opportunity as well to, while we're doing this, to partner and how can we make sure we're getting batteries and all these other things. I see a lot too. People might keep all these batteries from their like video game things and might throw them out at the end of the year when they're leaving. So if there was a place that people could put those batteries in a safer place in a trash can, I think it. You have some comments?
Yes. Yeah, I have 3 thoughts. First one, with also my Zero Waste Gainesville hat on, we definitely recommend education to roll out along with any program or policy. So absolutely, there should be education on durable goods, why we should keep them a long time, why we shouldn't just throw them away, why it's better if you really are at the end of using it, it should go back into the reuse economy. So definitely recommend that. The other thing is that hopefully this fall, Repurpose Project and the city are doing a joint project on assessing what's at the curb. And so hopefully we'll have some information and data after that starts. And part of that project at the end is to recommend a system to pick up the curbside stuff or based on what we see. But I mean, I definitely like something regular, not just obviously at move out time, because the curbside is mostly geared toward the single family residents, where the move out, move in, we're really looking at the apartment complexes off campus. So it's kind of different, but of course it's all related. And then we did come up with a couple suggestions for how to do a pilot program, whether if it's just a small apartment complex, or maybe it's a furnished and an unfurnished, looking at that together, or if it's the city wanted to do several, how we could do that and work together. So we do have some ideas jotted down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it sounds like there's some consensus, the 3 of us here. I guess we can try to put a motion to have staff work on it. I think the first one is that we would have staff add to the ordinance that that apartment complexes have to have a reuse kind of plan during move in, move out. And then the second, and then we'd have a pilot as part of that, and then that would kick in full effect for a majority of apartment complexes like 2025. And then the second one would be that the city would create, in essence, kind of a swap program. I don't know if swap program is the right terminology or not, but I'm sure there's another, but I think our staff has heard us what we're kind of talking about. Does that seem like consensus from the committee?
I'd move that.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion.
Sorry, can we also include looking at our surplus materials?
Sure, do you want to kind of what exactly do you want to give a little more?
So I don't know if we have surplus vehicles or surplus materials that could be beneficial to the reuse organizations and how they operate or how they pick up or store. So we have shelving galore. We have, I don't know if we have surplus vehicles that we get rid of at some point. Mr. Hancock saying yes, we do. So finding a plan that helps us reuse our surplus material, but also help those programs to continue their mission of reuse and repurposing, whether by renting out those supplies, or if it's something like a vehicle or a truck, or selling it at, we already discount surplus material, how much further we could discount that to make sure it's going towards this zero waste goal. I don't know if that makes sense entirely, or if there are other questions about that idea.
Okay, so it's third portion. I would have concerns. The renting portion might just create a whole lot of bureaucracy and liability and a lot of things that I think one of the things we had discussed in the past was maybe a prioritization of vehicles and stuff like that for reuse. I think that's something we talked about in the past. Maybe. Yeah. Like saying like, yeah, if you're a nonprofit, whatever, you're somebody who's going to then use these reuse products, so they'll get more reuse products to get them in the system. I think that's like, it's almost like that matching funds. So I think, yeah, having staff look at the kind of prioritization and other things, costs and things like that.
I don't want us to be in the rental business. But
Mr. Mann has his hand up.
That's loud.
Mr. Mann, do you want to join us?
Mr. Chair, Phil Mann, Acting Assistant City Manager. Just wanted to share with you on the fleet side. Did I interrupt you, Commissioner Ward?
Commissioner Ward, we're thinking about you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. On the fleet side, we do repurpose those vehicles. We have an auction where we sell those off. And what that does is goes to help offset the cost of our new vehicles. The fleet management team works with the solid waste team on how we redo that. If you would like at a future meeting, I can get the fleet folks to come and give you a little update on how that goes. But it's a sort of a separate process, but there is a process for us to auction those off so that it helps keep our fleet costs down.
Commissioner Saka?
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Did not know that. That's why we ask staff about things. I don't know the volume of vehicles. I imagine it fluctuates by season, by year. Is there a way to set aside a percentage of those for, I guess, not to set aside a portion of those? Because that for those nonprofits doing reuse. And my logic here is whatever extra couple thousands we could get off a vehicle is to keep our costs low on new fleet has to be less than what it would cost us to invest in these programs.
Right. So Commissioner Sacco, to your point, the two things that I would point out is I know on the GPD side, because those vehicles are special ordered and custom made, we have swapped, or we have sold or sold or donated some of those to other smaller agencies that couldn't afford new vehicles. Much like we used to do with transit, we got other people's hand-me-downs. We do that with law enforcement. The other thing I would point out is that our fleet department does a wonderful job of a cost benefit analysis to when the maintenance cost of a vehicle. We don't just trade them out like, okay, this vehicle's 5 years old, we're trading it out. It's an analysis fleet does that when the cost benefit analysis of the maintenance of that vehicle exceeds the replacement cost, that's when we swap them out. So some vehicles are in our fleet much longer than others. What you're saying is definitely a possibility, yes, but I just wanted you to be aware that by the time we do swap them out, they're usually starting to get high maintenance.
Got it. Okay, so, I don't know, I think and I'm not thinking so much about like GPD vehicles, I'm thinking about GRU trucks. Or, like, I'm thinking mostly about trucks or large vans if we have them. You can't shove stuff in a GPD cruiser. Well, you can shove people, not stuff. So I think I would like to at least explore the option of some of those. If they are higher maintenance, then that is something we can disclose to the groups and they should know. Because I think in some cases, you do want a pickup truck. In whatever condition, you're not going to take it down, on the highway. You're not going to put it through a lot of work. You're going to take it around the city, maybe around the county. So it's their own cost benefit analysis at that point. But I would like to at least maintain an option of some small portion being available.
Mr. Chair, to Commissioner Saka's point, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I just wanted to fully disclose the condition these vehicles are in when we do send them off to auction. And the other thing that has been beneficial to us because of the number of vehicles that we do trade out on an annual basis, in our public works and our parks departments during COVID, we have crews that have 4 or 5 people. We have basically banned more than 2 people in a vehicle. So one of the things that has hindered our fleet fund this past year, but will catch up in the future, is we've pulled some of those vehicles back out of surplus so that our crews with more than 2 people didn't have 2 vehicles, so we're not putting that many people in close contact with each other. So there's going to be, and there are some vehicles that are in probably decent shape, to Commissioner Saka's point. I just want to make sure you had full disclosure. And again, I can get Mr. Foster from Fleet, if you would like to further examine that, to come meet with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. So I don't mind just like an exploration of the feasibility, by someone who's not me. If you guys are comfortable with that, to at least see if it's an option to bother with.
So what do you think, Commissioner Sacco, about just having staff come back from both fleet and I guess from surplus too, just kind of telling us about what the current
State of it is.
state of it is, process it is, just so we have a better idea.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with doing
okay.
that, yeah.
All right. So we'll ask for, that's good with the seconder.
Sure.
I don't know if that needs to be on the next one because we're trying to focus that just on the ordinance, but maybe on the one following or something like that. If that would work for
That's
you.
fine.
Okay.
I would request at least a month, or not the next meeting, but the next, because our fleet is a little understaffed right now.
Yeah, so we said in a month.
I'm good with 4 or 6 weeks.
Thank you, sir.
4 or 6 weeks, yeah. All right. I'd like to bring it out to the public on the motion. The motion is to have staff add to the zero waste ordinance that apartment complexes of a certain size have to have reuse plans for move-in, move-out periods. That we'd have a pilot that would start next year and that it would be citywide by 2025. The second portion is that we would add the ordinance that the city would have a swap program where people would put stuff out on the curb. And I think, okay, to kind of leave it up to staff to kind of explore that and to look at it further. What is the kind of more appropriate time periods? And we don't even have to put exactly how often it has to be in the ordinance. They can just say that we're going to do a program. So there's allows us to be able to have flexibility. And then the third portion is we're going to have fleet and surplus come back in 4 to 6 weeks to give us an overview of the surplus process for the city. So is there any public comment on this item? I don't see anybody in chambers want to hit on this one?
Education outreach is really important to you guys as much as it is to us. Is it something that's in the ordinance? Or how do we make sure that the education rolls out with these new policies and programs?
So I think for every program that we launch education has to be a part of it. So it's kind of just a given that it will be a part of it. Anybody else in chambers? All right, open up to the phones or the Zoom, Brian.
All right, any attendees in the meeting, if you would like to speak to this item or to the motion that's on the floor, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. And the number to participate, if you want to call in, 312-626-6799 with the meeting ID 895-8262-3536. I don't see any hands.
All right, we will bring it back to the committee for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Our motion passes 3-0. Commissioner Ariola absent. Next item is public comment. If anybody would like to discuss anything not on the agenda. All right, seeing none, we will move to member comment. Seeing none, so our next meeting, talking about our next meeting is August 31st, is that correct? And that will be at 6 p.m.?
That's the town hall.
That's a town hall meeting. So if you all could spread the word wide that we're trying to have as much of the public kind of please look at the draft, and hopefully we can get that agenda item out. Yeah, I guess we'll it's working on? Okay, okay, perfect. And that we can have a good discussion, have the public give their feedback on it. All right, and I think that's the only item on that agenda item, correct? Okay, or on that meeting. All right, with that, we're adjourned.